want to go over the pros and cons of the pedestal and the C-clamp vise to help you make an informed decision if you're just getting into fly tying. Probably the biggest difference between the two is where you can tie flies at. So a C-clamp vise requires that you have a lip on a table to be able to actually get the C around. If it's a rounded table, a lot of times those won't hold it very well, or sometimes if there's not enough room under the table to grab, it's not going to work. Whereas the pedestal works everywhere, but the pedestal is super heavy. And all the bases are way a little bit different. You can get heavier duty bases. Like this is a base that from Renzetti on their master vise that is for saltwater tying, for when you're really cranking down on big flies. And so maybe not the best for traveling around. A base that only weighs a couple pounds might be better, especially if you're only tying trout flies. This can just go anywhere. But maybe there's times when you're not going to be tying on a picnic table or your desk at home, and you might have to get creative. Like maybe you might be hooking your C-clamp up to the steering wheel of your truck to be able to tie flies. Or maybe you're tying at a counter that doesn't have the ability to hook a C-clamp up to. If you're tying bigger flies, streamers, saltwater, sometimes you're cranking down on the materials to hold them in place. The C-clamp, because it's fixed to the table, you can really crank down on flies, especially with a longer hook shank, and put a lot of pressure on it, and you don't have to worry about the thing tipping over. Now, if you do have the super heavy duty base, you're not going to tip this thing over. And a lot of pedestal tiers will say, well, I don't tip my vise over. I know how much pressure I can put on the hook. And that's true, and it's because they've probably had the thing start to tilt on them a couple times, and they've learned what the max amount of pressure they can put on it before it starts to kick up on them. One of the things I like about the C-clamp vise is that by being on the edge of the table, is that it brings the vise closer to me. Not only is the vise right here in front of me, so I'm not having to reach out with my arms quite as far, but the other thing that the C-clamp allows me to do is that it allows me to adjust the height of the vise. On the pedestal, there's no height adjustment. Yeah, your height adjustment is if you like sit on a pillow or something. But this is my little garbage bag, and this attaches to the stem underneath the vise. And so when I'm tying and clipping materials, they just fall into that little bag. And so this will sit underneath my vise under the table. Really nice to have this thing kind of out of the way. You know, you can't really attach this thing below the pedestal vise. They do make some low profile trash bags that we have linked down in the description below. But even then, it's still I feel like they're in the way when it comes to tying. And so if I'm using the pedestal vise, I don't have any sort of trash bag at all. But with the C-clamp, I do have this. Now, if you do have the pedestal and you really want to have the little trash bag, you could have a setup with a C-clamp with a light system. That can be really helpful, especially if you have a darker area of your house or you're tying small flies and you really want that light to be able to see it well. You can then attach that to your light system. Now, for tyers that really want that vise to be close to them, and for just that ease of comfort of it being right in front of them, and for more adjustment, there is even lap extensions. The extension goes into the C-clamp, and then the vise goes into that extension part. Then when this is attached to the table, and this is fully adjustable, so I have, you know, probably a good 8 inches of room that I can move back and forth to get this thing as close or far away from me as I want. That can make tying really comfortable. If I'm tying for a long time, in several hours, having my hands out, it just is not very comfortable. So I like to have the vise a little bit lower. I don't like it to be up really high. I like it lower and closer to me. So is the C-clamp better than the pedestal? It just depends on your situation and what you're tying. If you already have a vise and you got a C-clamp or a pedestal, I'd love to hear in the comments down below why you love the pedestal or the C-clamp. Hey, if this video is helpful in helping you discern whether you want a pedestal or a C-clamp vise, give this video a thumbs up so other people can find it too. Both of these vises here are top of the line vises from Renzetti. They're made in Florida. They're beautiful vises. I love these things. I've been tying on them for years. I'm going to do another video on all about the different Renzetti vises that they make, because they make some that are quite affordable, but they're all USA made. They're all great. They have different features. So make sure you check out that video too.